Celestial blessings, my name is Helen Demetriou. I hope that you're all well and I'm sending you all my love. Now today I want to talk about channels, channeling. What is a channel? Now if I say to you the word channel, apart from the spiritual definitions, what do you think of? When you think of a channel, you think about a radio station, a channel on the radio, a TV channel that transmits information, pictures, words, stories to the watcher, right? It's also, a channel is also something that carries something. It is a host for something. Say, for example, if you look at a canal or even a pipe, that would be a better definition of a channel. It's something that carries something. Usually a pipe carries water, a canal obviously carries water. So then we can look at the definition of what other spiritual people say that channeling is. Some people say that channeling is communicating with different consciousness, different higher beings such as angels and or elementals or different tribes from the universe. And this is what they say that channeling is. So let us go back to the first definition of what a channel is. Now imagine that you are a channel on a TV and you're receiving the information through the channel that is transmitting the information to the listener and the watcher. And that is what a channel is. And really, it is not so much a form of communication because you're not so much communicating with the being or the entity that you are channeling if you're just channeling, because it's just a flowing motion. The information is entering into your consciousness and it's just being transmitted from you and by you. Now, it's not so much the same as communication, because with communication, you're actually having a conscious conversation with that higher being or that energy. So not every form of transmission or information that you receive that people claim are from higher beings is a channeling. I do both. If you read my work, you'll see that there are a distinct difference between my communications and my channelings. So the channeling is just receiving information and you're either typing it out or you're recording it or you're just storing it to remember and to think. They're just words that just tumble into your mind with feelings. You know, you have emotions, your intuition also plays a part, because your intuition is what tells you if this information is true to you, if it sounds legitimate. And there is a communication where I have visions and I have an active conversation in my conscious with the beings that are speaking to me. Now, not everybody is going to communicate or channel the same way, but what is the same for everybody is a channel is just the host for the information. I don't like to use the word host because it sounds like you're being possessed, and it's not like that at all. If channeling is done correctly, it's nothing about being possessed. It's just being a funnel for the information to enter into your consciousness, the top of the funnel, and down into your mind through your mouth or through your hands, which is the bottom of the funnel. This is how I also see it. Now I also see that, you know, we have a channel within us. We have the Sushumna line, which is what is the middle line within our body, running along our spine, which the energy flows through to go out to the chakras and meridians and vortexes within our spiritual bodies, our auric bodies, to feed and nourish them with energy. So I see that channel, and I always see myself as this way, as a channel, as a vessel that holds information, and a channel that energy flows through, information, frequencies flows through me that I transmit to the listener or the watcher. And through the communication, it is a different form. It's your mind is it goes to a different state. The conversation and the communication is you ask questions and you receive answers. So let's go back a little bit so that you understand. If you channel, you're basically just typing whatever is coming into your consciousness, or you're saying whatever is coming into your consciousness. There is no questions and answers. You're just channeling, pure channeling. When you're having a communication, then you're asking the questions and you're writing down or saying the answers that you receive from your questions. So you can see that even though they're very similar, they're not exactly the same, and they are different. Now some people say, well, isn't channeling possession? Well, no, channeling is not possession, because like I said, you are receiving the information into your consciousness and you're transmitting out what you are receiving. Now, there's a difference between hearing voices in your head and hearing thoughts or guidance. It's a lot different. Like if it's, because we have to differentiate between ego, mental problems, and actual receiving divine knowledge and information. Because if you're getting a voice, different voices in your head saying to you horrible things, to do bad things, or saying, go and kill yourself, or you're nothing, you're useless, you have to differentiate between if this is your ego, if this is a mental problem, and schizophrenia, for example, or another different borderline personality disorder, or if this is a real communication from a being external to yourself. Now, how do you know? Well, if you've not got any mental problems, and if you've got mental problems, I mean, we can't say that, if somebody has been living with mental problems all their lives and they're getting these really terrible voices in their heads telling them to do terrible things or telling them very horrible things about themselves. I mean, obviously, for me, I would say, go and get it checked out. I can't say to somebody, these are bad parasites, evil entities, and they're trying to possess you, or you're possessed. I mean, possession is very, very, very rare. It doesn't happen. What we do react to is if we have negative energies around us and we react negatively, and maybe we're horrible to people, or we feel depressed, or we feel down, but it's not because we're possessed. It's very, very rare that a person can be possessed. I have to say this, it doesn't happen often. It's very rare. And usually it's they possess, if they're going to possess anybody, it's people who are physically or mentally sick or spiritually. But even then, it's very, very uncommon. It's very rare. And there are cases where people do have astral nasties. They do have negative entities that are attaching themselves to them or around them, and they're reacting, and they may hear them say to them horrible things, and you're useless, and you're ugly, and you're stupid, and you'll never be anything. But this can also be the ego. If we're really down and we insult ourselves, and we say to ourselves, you're useless, you're no good, why are you even here on earth? Why don't you just kill yourself and be done with it? So we have to really understand the difference between a being of light, our ego, or mental issues. Now, away from that, apart from that, we all are able to discern when a being is good. I mean, you know how you feel. Like some people say to me, I received this message and I don't know if it's a negative entity or a positive one. And I'll say, well, how did it make you feel? Did it make you feel afraid? Did you feel sick? Did you feel heavy? The energy was heavy. Did you get a very bad headache, migraine? Did it make you feel joyous? Did it fill you with love and light? And if the person says, well, yes, I felt really good, I felt it was true, I felt really happy inside, I knew that it wasn't coming from me, but I'm so scared that it's something that's really bad and trying to mislead me. The thing is, nothing can make you feel these symptoms of happiness. You're not going to react in a positive way if it's a negative being, because these negative beings, they vibrate at a very, very low frequency that brings you down and makes you feel sad and depressed and very afraid. But if it's something that is good and is a positive or even a neutral energy, then you're going to feel good. You know, you have to trust yourself. Your body is an instrument. This is a detector. It tells you if an entity or energy is bad or good. It is your intuition. And there is no being, whether good or bad, can change that in you. That is something that you're born with, and that you can detect if this entity is good and bad. It's the same as when you meet somebody. You might meet somebody and say, oh, I don't like that person. I got a really bad feeling about that person. Or you can meet somebody and say, you know, I met this woman the other day and she's so nice. She's so loving and so, she made me feel so good and I connected with her. I really want to see her again. But the other person, you could have felt this person, when I left their presence, I felt drained. I really didn't want to see them again. I don't want to see them again. So you understand, you have the ability to discern what is good and what is bad. You can discern the positive or the negative. You know, you have this ability. Everybody does. There is not one person that cannot judge if they meet somebody and they like them or not. You know, everybody gets good and bad feelings from people, and it's the same as energies and spirits. So when people say to me, well, how do you know that it's not the devil in disguise that is using you as a puppet because you're so dumb that you have no spiritual experience and you don't know what you're doing? And I say, it's okay. I can feel the love and the goodness but you don't know. Maybe they've tricked you into believing that they're good. You see, what's happening is these people are projecting their fears onto you. They're so afraid of opening themselves up to the higher consciousness, to higher energies, that they're trying to make other people feel fearful, to feel the same as them. And what happens when we feel fearful is everything closes up. Our chakras shrivel up. We put ourselves in a soundproof box, and everything is closed. Our third eye closes. Our connection, our conscious connection with the divine and with higher consciousness, that closes up. So it is really important to not be afraid. Be wary. Be sensible. Trust your instincts, but don't be afraid of connecting with other beings. I mean, you were born with the ability to communicate either mentally or verbally and physically, emotionally, in so many different ways. And I don't agree with these people that use the word psychic. I don't like the word psychic. When I think of a psychic, I think of some woman at a fair or at a fun fair that's just sitting there in a box giving readings every half an hour. I don't like this definition psychic, because it's trying to say that only the special people are psychic. There's only these special people that are psychic. This is not true. We're all born with intuition. There is not one person on this planet born here that is not born with intuition. Everybody has it, and this is what being psychic means. It means having a heightened state of intuition, which some people, they're born with a higher senses than others, and there are some that have to develop it through time, and there are some that completely forget about it, don't want to have anything to do with it, are not interested in it, but it doesn't mean that it's not there and that they don't experience times of high intuition in their lives. So everybody has the ability to communicate and be a channel. We magnetize energy to us. We send out energy. We transmit either through our thoughts or the things that we say or the language from our body. We are receivers and transmitters. That's what we are. We are a radio in itself. So you are a channel. Everybody is a channel, and everybody can receive information regarding things that are happening in our own lives, things that are happening cosmically, from the divine, events on earth, prophetic messages. Everybody has the ability to receive these messages. And as I said before, as the communication is, this is just something a little different, because not everybody can see, and not everybody is going to be able to ask questions and receive answers straight away. You know, you have to be working in a high level of energy to be able to do this. And I'm not saying nobody can do it. I'm saying that you have to get to a certain place of enlightenment where you can have these communications and conversations and visions, and or even not even with visions, you know, just to have this back and forward conversations of questions and answers, or just even a conversation in general. You can talk about the weather, you know. It's different to channeling. Even though you're typing or saying or remembering or whatever the answers that you're receiving. Now, people say to me that you know, you can't channel other people on earth, and this also is not true, because I channel living people. When I do readings for people, I'm channeling their thoughts from their higher self, you know, and I can channel people that are my friends. You know, sometimes when they don't know what's wrong with them, I channel how they're feeling. So I'm receiving their emotions, I'm receiving their messages from their higher self and their subconscious, and I'm transmitting it. Everybody can do this, and people do this. There are many healers, or just, you know, basically highly intuitive people that say to their friend, you know what, you're smiling and you're happy, but are you okay? I just don't feel that you're okay today. You seem a little bit down. And the friend can say, oh, I'm smiling, you know, I haven't, but I don't know, you know, I feel that, you know, there's something off about you. Are you sure you're okay? And usually the friend will start to say, oh, I had a fight with my husband, or I had a fight with the boss, or with a friend, or with a family member, etc., etc., etc. So what you're doing is you are receiving that information. You're receiving the signal from the higher self or the subconscious of that person, and you're transmitting what you're receiving. So that is another form of channeling. So please don't believe that you can only connect with beings that are above us, or not of the living on earth, not incarnate, because this is not true at all. We can connect with and transmit any information from any energy throughout the universe, including Earth. A person doesn't need to be dead in order to receive information from someone's higher self, which is infinite. You know, this part of them, their higher self, is from the source of all, and we're all connected. So this is why when we recognize and remember our connection with our brothers and sisters, either on Earth or on different planets, or even just an energy that's not incarnated into matter, we can receive and feel energies, and they can do the same. They know we exist, they feel us, and we feel them. Because I always see it as the whole cosmos, the whole of the universe, that all of us are coming from the all, the source of all, and we're all connected by a thread, for example. So I always imagine this web, and each of us are on our little part of the web, and when one person jiggles a bit of the web, the whole of the people or the beings or the energy on this web can feel this vibration. And that's exactly what it is. It's like dropping a pebble in a bucket of still water, and you see the ripples. That is how it is. Everybody's affected. If there are leaves, say let's talk about a beautiful still lake, and you drop in a pebble, and you've got some leaves in there and other bits of plants or whatever, and the ripples, they go out, and on these little waves, these little ripples, you see the leaves are moving and everything else that is nearby is moving. Well, this is exactly the same with humans and any other being or energy in the universe. Everything that we do can be felt by others. If we're down, other people can feel it. If we're happy, we make other people happy. Anything we do or say or even think has an effect on other people, on this web that we're all on. Everybody can feel it. So this is why we also have to be conscious of what we're sending out, what we're transmitting. Now, there are people that say there's this channeler and they're channeling this information, and I don't agree with it at all. It's just really out there, or it's just so dark, or I just don't believe it's true. Well, we have to take certain approaches to this. If this person is channeling about these kind of channels are, in the community, there'll be a latest craze or a fad, and for example, the missing Malaysian flight, and we start off with this snowballing of it was aliens that abducted the aeroplane, the Malaysian aeroplane, and then you get all these people coming out with all these channelings that, with their definitions of how this plane was abducted or hijacked by aliens, and they've each got their own definition, but basically the theme is always the same, that it was aliens that came and they took them hostage, they've taken the passengers hostage, and blah 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 blah. So this is, I can't believe this kind of channel. I don't accept this kind of channeling. Number one, because it doesn't resonate with myself, with me personally. I don't feel that this is a truth, and I don't feel that it's just because there's so many people doing it, it must be true. It's usually because what they do is they're all hitting off each other and creating this mass hysteria, and so they're all coming out with the same thing, just a different version. Another thing is when people say, so basically that's what I believe. I believe that this is coming from ego. These channel messages are coming from ego, and it's coming from a collected memory, that things that they've read, and they're basically just channeling their own mind, their memories of things that they've read, imprints of different channelings or different things that people have said, and it's just I can't say the word. It's just a collection of all of these memories and things that they've read just coming through, and they're just channeling their thoughts basically. Then we have the ones that say, when these people come out and they say some, things that are not true, and sometimes, they can be quite dark, and I would say that this is channeling from the ego. It's just a reflection of how that person is feeling inside, or it's based on their beliefs. But then you can get channelings that there probably are real channelings, but they're not fantastic, going to make you happy, feel fun, joy feelings. But we also have to remember that different beings are not going to think and feel about certain things like we do. So they can use a language in English to express what they want to say, and they could come off as arrogant, but it doesn't mean that they're arrogant. They just don't feel how we feel. They don't think in the same process. So we may think they're rude. We could think that they're, they have a terrible ego issues, but they also have their own personalities and their own beliefs of the place where they come from, or the consciousness that they're residing in. It doesn't mean that this being or entity or energy is negative. It just means that we just have to take what they say. I mean, even if we don't like what they say, it's the fact that we're doing research and we're just sharing this part to educate humans about this kind of person and what they have said. It doesn't necessarily mean that we support what they say, but I find that it's interesting. Like when I was interviewing some reptilians, which I do not support them, I do not believe them or anything. I just felt that I should publish it because it gives us an insight onto how they think. And for me, it's important that we have diversity in what we can't just give people these, channelings or messages that say you're great, you're magnificent, you're fantastic, you don't have to do anything to change, you're perfect just the way you are. And that's what people want to hear most of the time. And I've noticed that when I have these kind of transmissions, these messages, these are what people like the most, and they'll be sharing them everywhere because they don't want to, they don't want anyone to say to them, look, you're a beautiful being, you're divine, etc. But you need to change these things about yourself. They don't want to be told these things. And really, if we're receiving guidance, I mean, the whole reason for these transmissions is to help people. You've got to say to somebody, look, to humanity as a whole, for example, look, you're doing this wrong. To achieve this, you have to change this about yourself. Be less selfish, be less embroiled in your own ego, etc. And people don't want to hear this kind of thing. And you'll have people say, well, I don't believe this, you're channeling something negative because they said that, this, that and the other. But a lot of it is because people are resisting to actually work on themselves. I mean, they're much happier to tell other people, look, you need to change, you've got these issues, but they don't want to be told you have to do some work on yourself. They don't like this. They just want to be told the good things, and it's not always possible. I mean, I have to try to discern what I'm going to share and what I'm not going to share because of how people react. There are those that, they're rational and they're logical, and they say, well, you know what, this is true, we do have to change. These are the ones that are living in the real world. But then you have the people that they're very, I'm trying to say the right words here to not offend people, but they don't have the ability to cope with anything that is going to shake their world. They want to live in this bubble where everything is just love and light, and they just want to be told only good things about themselves. They're very willing to believe things that say, you're fantastic and you're this and you're that. But they're not willing to accept if, the divines say, you're being a bit selfish. You do need to work on this. They don't want to hear this. And so they will demonize you yourself and say that you're channeling demons. And it also matters on what and who you're channeling also. If it's with the Anunnaki gods, and in the New Age community, there's mixed feelings about them because of the insanities that's been spread. Like I was saying to you about these channelers that are building on top of these theories, like a mass hysteria. They read something and then they take it as truth and then channel based on what this person has said, when this whole this whole story about the Anunnaki and mining for gold and all of this garbage that they created humanity to be slaves, etc., is not true, and it is not aligned with what the ancient historians said, or the mystics, or the true translations. But these people will take the theories, like, for example, what Sitchin said, and some others they've said about, them mining for gold, and now you'll get all these channelings. Well, the Anunnaki, they were negative and they turned to the light, but they came to Earth to created humanity to be slaves, and they're just basically just giving the same story but with different words. So you also have these kind of people. And if they have these kind of people, and you'll have the people that believe in these kind of people, then they'll start saying, "Oh, you're channeling demons," or because if it's a Christian person, say it's a spiritual Christian, a New Age Christian, and they have their beliefs set in the Christian or church ways, then they're going to see this, well, there's no other God but God in heaven, and there's no other this, and everything's in the Bible. And if you channeled something supposedly from the angels or from Jesus or from the God of the Bible, they would accept it rather than if you talk about other gods, because that's their belief. They're trapped within their belief system, within their religion. So, you have all these different things. So at the end of the day, you just have to follow your heart and your instincts. If you're pure in your heart and your intentions are pure, then you're only going to be connected with beings, energies that are also good and pure and positive, or just do not mean any harm but want to help, or just want to communicate. I mean, we want to communicate with other beings for the sake of it, for our own learning, and so do they. I mean, they want to communicate with us just to have a conversation and learn about us. It's not every channeling is going to be some great prophetic message. It's not going to be. They'll just tell you bits and pieces about themselves. They'll introduce themselves, and you'll do the same thing. And that is, a lot of the channelings will be about this. But apart from this, with me, because I'm working on a higher level, for example, I see myself as my energies and my channels going directly upwards to the higher vibrating beings. So I'm more, when people want to call me a medium or a psychic or whatever, I'm not really dealing with spirits that are earthbound. I'm not really going to, because my focus is upwards. I'm dealing with higher vibrating beings, not earthbound spirits so much, or spirits that come down to speak with others about what messages they want to give to them. So you have to understand also that if you're dealing with this kind of frequency, if you're channeling upwards and you're receiving, you're on that level, and that's your focus, then you're not going to get dark entities coming through or negative entities, because they vibrate too slowly. Their frequencies are very low. They're very heavy, their vibrations, so they're not going to be able to get into your consciousness, because you're dealing with high frequencies and they can't vibrate in these high frequencies. And if you're dealing with these high frequencies, it reflects on you, and you also begin to vibrate in these high frequencies. So you're not going to hear, or even these beings could not even come near you, because you're vibrating too fast for them. Your frequencies are too fast for them. They can't handle your energy. So this is why I always say to people, or these occultists, that they're dealing with entities, dark entities from the underworld. And I'm not talking about the dark aspects of the gods. I'm talking about what other people, what we would call, anyone would call demons, or, you know, beings from the underworld, spirits from the underworld. You know, when you begin going downwards and projecting downwards and receiving from downwards, because your focus is on working with these low vibrating entities, then you're going to vibrate low, and you're going to be bothered by dark entities. So it's up to everybody, you know. I mean, I don't understand the need for people to work with you know, beings from the underworld who vibrate a lot less than not even quarter of the power of the gods or the divine beings. I just don't understand why. I mean, I suppose it's because they believe they get their workings done faster, but you always have to give something in return to them, whereas the gods will work with you, or the higher beings will work with you, and if you ask for something for them to help you manifest something, etc., it may take time, but that's because they take into account what's best for you. So they're also a protection that way. They're not just going to give you what you want, which could mess up your whole life. They also discern, you know, the outcome of them helping you. If they help you for something you ask for, if it's going to cause big waves of problems in your life and for others, they're not going to help you. And that's the end. And this is why I think people turn to the lower entities, because they're willing to do anything as a bargain in return for something, whereas the gods, they don't ask for anything in return. I mean, it depends. I mean, it depends on your relationship and your divine mission on earth, you know. I mean, you do make agreements before coming here, but they're not going to say, okay, we'll help you, but you have to do this and you have to do that. That's not, if you're hearing these words, then that's not coming from the divine, it's not coming from the gods. And also, don't always believe that a different species that comes through is going to be love and light. You know, you can have negative species coming through, like reptilians or greys. They're not better than us just because they come from another planet. They're not more advanced than us or more loving than us just because they come from another planet. I mean, you have to remember that we're the children, as it says in the translations, we're the children of the gods. We are divine beings. We are gods. So we are vibrating at a very high frequency, whether people want to believe it or not. But there are negative beings out there. But use your intuition, discern, feel. How do you feel? Make a note of it, and then you just shut the door. I also wanted to touch on about the dimensions that we enter into automatically when we begin to have these conversations and receive this information from the different beings. We enter into a consciousness, a dimension that is actually policed and protected by higher beings that are there to keep these dimensions vibrating at a high frequency, which the lower vibrating frequency beings cannot enter. Now, these communications are fundamental to our spiritual growth, to understand that we can expand our consciousness out of the earth matrix. And we have these bodies of people, these groups of people or individuals who are basing their beliefs in the Christian structure, who are playing a very damaging role in another person's spiritual growth by telling them, don't believe the voices that you hear. They're demons, they're demonic, they're trying to possess you, you're being psychically attacked. And what they're doing is they're projecting their fears or their agendas for either financial gain or their ego issues, and that they're vibrating so low because of their fear. They're projecting this onto others and making their faith the other person's faith. Because if you are a Christian, a New Age Christian, and you believe in spirituality, is in the mindset of the New Age community, and your faith is, well, I've been baptized, so I contain the Holy Spirit, or I follow Christ, so I contain the Holy Spirit. Now, part of the teaching of Christ through the baptism was that if you are baptized, you are filled by the Holy Spirit and nothing can possess you, because you're vibrating at such a high frequency that lower vibrating beings cannot even come near you. So it is insane for people to even believe that they can be possessed. I'm talking about the New Age Christians that can even be possessed if they have the Holy Spirit within them, if they've been baptized, for any being to be able to attach itself or possess their body. And what these people are doing is they're projecting these vampiric energies onto others, and they're stunting their spiritual growth, and they're stopping them from expanding their consciousness. Now, if you have faith that you are a being of God, or that you are a being of light, and that your body contains the Christ consciousness, the Christ flame, the Holy Spirit, then that is your faith. That is your belief. You don't believe that you can be possessed. You don't believe that anything negative vibrating like demons can come near you, because your intentions are focused on upwards. They're not focused downwards into the abyss, into the underworld. You're not vibrating at a low frequency. So no low vibrating frequency entity can come near you, can attach to you, can even speak to you. So basically, if this is your faith, that nothing can harm you, that you're filled with the Christ consciousness, you're filled with the soul of the goddess, whatever your belief is, then you cannot have anything attach itself to you or possess you. But if you're a person and your faith is based on that every corner that you're going to turn there's some demon waiting to torment you, then you will attract these beings into your life, and you will begin to vibrate at a low frequency, because you believe that these beings are so much more powerful than you, they're so much more powerful than the divine, so they are able to conquer the Christ consciousness, the goddess or the Holy Spirit within you, and possess you and attach themselves to you. So where you put your faith is what you will become, is what you will attract. If, like I said, you hold the mentality of the church that everywhere you go there's some demon with nothing else better to do in its whole existence than torment a human being, then this is what you're going to attract into your auric bodies. That's the way it is, guys. If this is what you're going to believe, then this is what's going to happen. You're only going to attract these beings, like I said before, is if you're dealing with underworld demons or underworld spirits, or if you have this belief and you put your faith in that you're going to be possessed, or the voices in your head are demonic and they're possessing you and they're attached to you and they're just waiting to covet you and take you over, and that you shouldn't believe in these voices, and what these people are doing and what you're doing is stunting the growth of people. You're stunting their conscious expansion, and it's a crime against the divine and humanity, in my opinion. It's basically what the Abrahamic religions do. That was their intention, and that they're taking people into a place of fearful thinking, and when we're living in fear, then we're vibrating very low, so then we are going to attract these negative entities, and that's how it is. You know, I mean, you know, people that go around saying these things really need to check their own selves, and they should not be projecting these fearful thoughts onto others, because again, I said it's a crime against humanity. It's just not right, and it's not fair that they're trying to scare people with their own beliefs, to put them in a box, or even some people that are doing it just to make money so that they can say to them afterwards, well, you know what, you're those voices in your head, you're possessed by a demon, or you've got a demonic attachment. But if you buy my so and so, then you can be free. Or if I do this little ritual and this little dance around you, then you'll be free of it, I promise. But just know that you're possessed, or you've got an attachment, and it's a really dire situation for you. These people, for me, they are the parasites. They are the demons. These are the people that are keeping humanity vibrating at a low frequency, and they keep pushing people down, down, down into the abyss, vibrating at a low frequency. So they do get attacked because they've changed their faith. They've manipulated their thinking into believing that it's possible for some scum to be able to attach themselves to them when we're divine. How would even a demon even have the audacity to come near us, to attach itself to us? We must be really vibrating at such a low frequency, be mentally or physically sick or spiritually sick, that we vibrate so low. And really, we have to understand what we are, and understand that we're pure light and energy, and nothing can hurt us. And if you have your focus in this and your intentions in this, then nothing can hurt you. And people, you have to discern for yourselves. I know that there are lost sheep out there. I know there are people that are lost. I know there are people that are hurting and in pain, and they're looking for direction, and they're looking for somewhere to find a home or some kind of guidance. And maybe things are going bad in their lives, and they'll believe anything anyone says, just as long as they get some kind of compassion and attention or some answer to the problems. Things happen in our lives. It's not because of demons. I mean, please guys, let's not go back to the Middle Ages now, when a healer, a woman, was called a witch and burnt at the stake. We've evolved a lot since then. So we have to use our own discernment, our own bodies, and understand that we are meant to expand our consciousness. We are meant to communicate between different energies so that we experience this, so that we can grow. I mean, that's what we're here for, really, as well, to expand our consciousness, to experience, to help our soul growth, apart from working towards the divine plan for Earth. But please do not be afraid, okay? Use your own discernment, your own judgment. Listen to what your body tells you. If you hear any being talking to you and it makes you feel good, you can test it. You can ask it many questions until you're sure. But at the same time, do not be afraid. You are divine and beautiful. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.